So you'll be given a minute to respond to each question. I'll be timing it, and you can use as much or as little of that time to answer each question, as well as you'll be given a minute and a half in the end to provide closing remarks. If we have time in the end, we'll go to some of the questions submitted by the public, but if not, we can just skip it. It is 6:31. We're aiming to end around 6:45-ish. Could you just introduce your name and the position you're running for the record?
My name is Jackie Madrigal, and I'm running for the treasurer position.
Okay, cool. So our first question is, have you had any prior experience with student council?
Yes, I actually started my council career, I guess, back in the fall when I joined the Judiciary Committee. So this is my second semester on council.
As treasurer, what would be your biggest priority if elected, and what changes do you want to see implemented?
So I'm running for the treasurer position to improve the communication with financial entities on administrative levels and to better understand where the money is and isn't going into, and to improve the relationships between club organizations and clubs. I'm really hoping to improve the transparency between the ways in which we as council work with the administration, and also hoping to kind of build that bridge between students and the administration so that we can kind of get our voices in more on the larger scale, if that makes sense.
Okay. How many hours a week do you think that the current position holder works, and how many hours do you see yourself contributing actively to council?
As far as I know, it's from kind of what I've talked to about with other people on the e-board. I would say I couldn't give you an exact number of hours, but I'm assuming it's somewhere between more than 10 hours a week maybe. And I kind of see the position, or any position on e-board, kind of having to give your time every day, giving whatever it is that you want to give. But I do see myself giving a large portion of my time and fully dedicating myself to the position.
Mhm. Becoming the treasurer of student council means that you serve as a link between administration, student council members, as well as treasurers to other student clubs, and that can be time consuming. How would you handle the workload and pressure involved?
I think that this position does take a lot of time, but if everything is very planned out and organized in a way where you use your time as efficiently as possible, that um, maybe the pressure isn't felt as much. I just think it's a matter of finding a way to kind of let's say with clubs, finding a way to get all club leaders together or all club treasurers together, and working together to kind of make the improvements that we need.
Okay. What types of experiences make you qualified to run for this position, and how do you think your unique perspective would be reflected in council?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I've been on council for 2 semesters now, and I actually hold a judiciary position, and I really feel like that has given me a really unique perspective on council, just because, for example, during council meetings, judiciary stays quiet for the most part, and it's a lot of listening, it's a lot of reading the Constitution, so I feel like this perspective really has allowed me to understand the ways council works, and on the inside, but also seeing the improvements that can be made. So yeah, I feel like I have a very unique perspective in the sense that I'm in council, but in a very quiet and a very low key way, I guess.
Mhm. So you mentioned reading the Constitution. Managing club finances are essential and can be hard to navigate as a club leader, and all clubs that are council funded have to adhere to the Constitution. How would you plan on spreading the word about that and helping club, as well as helping club leaders manage their budgets?
I feel like there's kind of a disconnect between clubs and council. Um, I would argue that most of the student body hasn't looked at the Constitution, doesn't know about the Constitution. So I really feel like there needs to be kind of a meeting or training for clubs so that they better understand the Constitution and their role on campus in order for them to reach their fullest potential. Um, so I just feel like starting at the beginning of the year, that's something that should be implemented, something that we should advertise to ensure that clubs are kind of fulfilling their duties and also reaching their highest potential.
Okay, so we're going to move on to some questions that were submitted by the public before.
Okay.
What would you say is your greatest contribution to the greater Clark community?
Well, currently I'm serving as a connections mentor, and the connections program is kind of a pre-orientation program for first years who identify as being multicultural. And I've learned a lot from that mentoring process. I'm still serving as a mentor. It ends at the end of the school year, and it's been a really unique experience. I've It's really helped me identify like the different issues and I guess the different issues on campus and I don't know, from a very unique perspective, first year multicultural students. So I consider that one of my biggest contributions to the couple art community.
What steps would you take to make sure that you hear as well as represent the entire student body?
Um, I feel like really emphasizing or kind of giving the larger Clark community access to council. A lot of people don't really know what it is that council does. I would argue that um, they don't know what resources are offered to them, and they don't know how to approach council. I feel like in many ways, I know I didn't my first year when I wasn't on council. So I feel like just really emphasizing or really abiding by office hours and promoting as much as possible, like the people who are on council and the resources that we have to offer. I feel like that's one really big step that we need to take or something that we should focus more time on.
On a more specific note, what policies or steps would you implement to improve inclusivity for transgender and non-binary students?
So the people in general that I'm running with on the same ticket, we've really talked about we really want to emphasize on structural change. And I know one of the things that we talked about was implementing like the gender neutral restrooms on campus. And so I really see us advocating for that this upcoming year. I know that Eunice has been doing a lot of work with that this year. So I'm really hoping that we get to continue that work this next upcoming year.
Okay, so let's move to closing remarks. Again, as a reminder, you'll have a minute and a half and you can talk about whatever you'd like in this space.
Okay. So I kind of wrote something, so I'm just gonna read it off. I have found that what sits closest to my core is the accessibility, inclusivity, and diversity that Clark has the potential to create in spaces that lack those principles. I know what it is like to sit in a room where you don't feel welcome, seen, or appreciated in, and I know that by challenging these spaces is how change is created. With the new president coming in next year, we have the opportunity to initiate more change by creating coalitions with the administration to gain the transparency we as students deserve. I am running for the treasurer position to improve the communication with financial entities on administrative levels to better understand where money is and isn't going into, and to improve relationships between clubs and between club organizations and council. I want to thank you all again for making the time to tune in today. I really want to convey that if elected into the treasurer position, that I will strive to develop a thorough and comprehensive understanding of the system and efforts to ensure equitable distributions of funds to our various student organizations and initiatives. I look forward to serving this amazing student body and hoping to be part of the organization that strives to make Clark the best place that it can be for students, staff, and faculty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a little hectic, but thank you for making the time for this.